Welcome to the Speak Your Piece podcast. My name is Ian McNaughton, Big E here. We are happily joined by SYP creator Fuji, also known as Alex. Fuji, we've always called you Fuji. I just feel like we always just call you Fuji.
I'm cool with it, man.
All right, cool. We're here to discuss the NBA. We're here doing a basketball pod. We'll probably do some more basketball pods since Fuji's, doing the blogs. He's, a creator now. He's all about the NBA. I got to learn more about the NBA because of Fuji. So
it's the only thing I know about, man. You cover like 9 different sports.
Well, I mean, I like dip my toes in like a little bit of each. Like I can tell you who's good or who's not in basketball, right? Like, look at fucking I shouldn't say the Timberwolves because that's a bad example. Not gonna say the I'll say the Cavs, even though I like the Cavs. I'll say
okay. A little bit better.
I like Kevin Love. What can I say? His jersey, I don't know if it's here, but I do have his jersey somewhere. It's a fake. I bought a fake Kevin Love jersey with the finals patch on the back.
I can't tell. Can't tell the difference.
No, you can't. You honestly can't. That's just it. Like, I just have to clarify, but you honestly can't tell the difference. Speaking of can't tell the difference, I don't think I can tell the difference between this Steph Curry and 2015 Steph Curry. I think they are the same player. He is legit. He had a great night on Monday, 49 points, 10 threes. 50% field goal percentage. Your thoughts on Steph Curry and the resurgence, if you want to call it that, he's having this season?
I think he's just catching fire. And truthfully, I think the whole season should have been like this. I think Steve Kerr should have realized that maybe Kelly Oubre is the way to go, as convincing as he might be.
Looks-wise, we're talking about with Kelly, right? Looks-wise.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just that they're playing exclusively, it feels like, through Steph now. And, he can run with it. He's the best point guard in the league. He's the best shooter in the league. He's an amazing playmaker.
He's Steph Curry.
Yeah, it's Steph Curry. Like, I don't have to say anything. I just say Steph Curry. Let's run with it.
So is Steph the MVP right now, or am I a little too early with Steph for MVP talk? Or is he in the conversation?
I don't think you're early. He's been a top, like when he's been playing, he's been a top 5 MVP candidate, all year. And I think now he's outperforming everyone else in the entire league. And he's been doing that for, 10, 11 games straight. And, I think if he continues to, put up over 30 points per game, then, I think he is the MVP.
His stats for April, I have them jotted down right now. 40.8 points per game, 7.2 3-pointers a game, and he's got a 55, 50, and 91 that he's shooting right now. So he's above the 50, 50, 90 club that everyone talks about with shooters. Because part of it is the weird thing with the MVP class this year is that there isn't really one guy. Everybody's either a little bit injured or not quite right or not all there. We've talked about Jokic before, and we've talked about Embiid before. I'm really hard pressed not to give it to Curry. Like, I really kind of just want to give Curry the MVP again because right now the Warriors are 9th in the West with a 500 record. I don't know, man. I feel like I would be putting money on Curry to win MVP. It's not a bad bet right now if you do that sort of stuff. I don't know about you and how you feel with it. Other MVP candidates.
I just think the way Steph's performing right now, if he's going to do that, it's not to say like he's been doing nothing up until this point. He's been, top 5 MVP candidate when he's been playing. Even though the Warriors haven't been doing well, but Steph's played in only about 40 games-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And he hasn't really been surrounded with amazing players. Like Draymond's definitely not having a good season, and his supporting cast hasn't been great. Wiggins has been good. I'm happy he's doing well. I've been surprised that he's been doing well. But, there's not much else to really say. Everybody else supporting you is Kelly Oubre, Jordan Poole, and Kevon Looney. Like, he's kind of, his team's kind of down bad at this point. If you replace Steph with really any other point guard in the league, you're talking about a team that's competing with the Kings.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I mean, again, they're 29-29, negative 0.4 point differential, so they're like 4/10 behind of a even point differential. 6-4 in their last 10, and that's with Steph getting hot in his last 10 games. Other MVP candidates I want to throw out there. So yeah, Jokic, Embiid, Harden, who's now injured. He's not playing tonight, or he wasn't playing tonight against New Orleans. Lillard, Giannis, LeBron, like that's why I got to go with like Steph right now for MVP, because it feels like a limited list. And I think I'd rather have Steph than Jokic or Embiid right now. And I love Jokic. He's like one of my most entertaining players to watch. But like, in all seriousness, if I'm going to build a team around one of those guys, I'm building a team around Curry compared to Embiid or Jokic.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest argument for Jokic this season is, the best ability is availability. And he's played every single game and he's put up great numbers. He's, league and all-time high in player efficiency rating. People knock him for not being like an amazing defender. He's kind of like a sneaky good defender, like Marc Gasol previously. Where he's smart, he's got good hands. He'll get picks. He can get blocks. He knows where to be on defense. It's just that he doesn't have the athleticism, the length that guys, other defensive player of the year guys, like Gobert, Miles Turner, even Bam Adebayo or Embiid. He doesn't have that athletic ability, but that's the biggest argument against him. As we all know, offensively, this dude is wetter than water. He's like this majestic walrus, just putting up random ass fadeaways and jump shots that go in. And he's got one of the best court visions in the game. And he's cleaning the glass too. He just does everything.
Here's the thing. Jokic is like my MEP, my most entertaining player.
Yeah.
But Curry is like most valuable. The other thing with Jokic is that Murray is he officially out for the year, I believe
so, yeah.
The word with Jamal Murray is that he's done for the season. So now, you got like Aaron Gordon, Aaron Gordon, not Gary Harris. Fuck, he got traded.
Aaron Gordon. Michael Porter Jr.
That's who I'm thinking of. One of the other smaller guys on the team. And I mean, it's not like Jokic is a bad player. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Embiid's a bad player. It's just, I think it's Curry for MVP right now. I would be putting money on Steph to win the MVP race at this time, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Who knows? What do I know? I'm just somebody who wears glasses. Also big news. You'll love this. Woj tweeting that LaMelo Ball will be returning to the Charlotte Hornets 7 to 10 days. He mentioned it yesterday. We're recording this Tuesday night. He mentioned it on Monday. So probably between next Monday and next Wednesday, he'll show up again. Which is cool. You love to see it. He's been battling a right wrist with a fracture he was suffering through.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about? I'm interested. What are you most excited about with LaMelo Ball returning to the Hornets?
Definitely a lot more Eric Collins hype. Honestly, he makes me think Terry Rozier is the best point guard in the league. That's how far that goes. He just does a phenomenal job. For those of you who don't know, Eric Collins is the Hornets announcer that's been going viral.
And going out of his way just to say the most darndest things.
Man, I love it so much.
It's awesome.
I'm really excited because the Hornets were really took advantage of the East, teams kind of having some injuries, not really figuring out, how they should be playing. And, the Hornets ran all the way up to fourth. They're really right on the Bucks, who are, another title favorite this year. And, it's not like they didn't deserve it. Like you could make the argument that, other teams were injured. They didn't really have the guys. But, the Hornets, they have really good players. Terry Rozier is really good. Gordon Hayward's been very good, despite what people thought about the signing,
What I thought about the Hornets and Hayward in general. I'm one of those guys. I was wrong. Yeah. I'll raise my hand up first. I was one of the haters.
I mean, yeah, they've got they got good players. They've got a mix of borderline all-star players and aspiring young players that could be future all-stars. It's not a mistake that they got up to fourth, and without LaMelo and having to rest other guys due to injuries, it's definitely taken a toll on them. And other teams got stronger over the course. We saw moves by all the other teams ahead of them, big moves, some of them, or just players simply returning from injuries.
I was going to say the Hornets, they lost tonight to the Knicks. I just wanted to pull that up. So the Hornets lost 109-97 to the Knicks, who we'll talk about later on. The Knicks are a fun team to watch as well. Charlotte, before I think they are 28-8 now. After that, I mean, how good with LaMelo Ball returning and everybody healthy, how far do you think the Charlotte Hornets could actually go? Like, do you think they can get through the first round?
Well, where they're at now, if they have to go and, play against the 76ers or the Nets or the Bucks, I don't really see it. If they were still in that 4th seed and, they had a matchup against, maybe like the Celtics, Hawks, Knicks, they have a chance. They would definitely have a very good chance, I think. But, LaMelo definitely changes the dynamic of the offense and the defense on the floor, despite what people will tell you about LaMelo's defense. He hustles his ass off. He's a smart defender. He doesn't overcommit on steals. He's got great hands. He'll definitely get steals. He's a smart defender. He doesn't get beat. He's physical. And then on the offense, he's a great shooter. He'll make you pay if he's open, and he's an amazing playmaker. He just looks like a veteran on the floor. He doesn't look like a rookie.
I just, was trying to figure out. So in the standings right now, they're 2.5 games back of Atlanta, who Atlanta's had a really good season. I kind of agree with you. I don't know if they can get past the triple threat, I guess, of 76ers, Nets, Bucks. Yeah. But I mean, and they lost, almost by, I guess, 20 tonight to the Knicks. But when healthy, I think this team can be a promising team. They look like they were a promising team when LaMelo was there. If LaMelo does come back here like he's supposed to, has a killer, home stretch during the regular season, do you think he's back in line for the Rookie of the Year?
I don't really think he ever left, to be honest.
Okay, all right.
Despite rookie ladders, they still do polls around the league, and LaMelo's still the favorite. I mean, he dominated. I mean, I wrote about this a bit. He dominated, really.
Yeah.
He was the rookie of the month every single month he played. He was leading. I mean, other rookies have gotten better over the season, but at the time, he was leading rookies in almost every single stat category. He was the leaders in points. He was the leader in rebounds, in steals, in assists. He was shooting the highest 3-point percentage as well. And also, my biggest thing is that he was a key player on a 4th-seeded team, while every other rookie in the top 5 other than him are playing on lottery teams. That's another thing.
So I'll go. So according to FanDuel, these are what the odds are for Rookie of the Year right now. Yeah, you have LaMelo Ball minus 210. My Neil's boy, my brother Anthony Edwards at plus 170. Tyrese Halliburton at plus 600. Quickly is at plus 5,500. And then Patrick Williams is at plus 13,000. So not really going to happen with Emmanuel Quickly and Patrick Williams. I mean, as much as my brother has, shitted on Anthony Edwards for being an awful first overall pick, I still think he's had a solid season, but I don't know. I don't know if anybody can compare it to LaMelo and how much LaMelo has panned out so quickly with the Charlotte Hornets. So we'll see if they can continue to do well with LaMelo coming back. Final thoughts?
Yeah. I think other rookies have gotten better. Anthony Edwards certainly got a lot better.
That's the A-Rod effect.
Of course. After the All-Star break, he's averaging about 21 points per game. He was also, he's kind of being funneled in a way since, Cat, D'Lo, they're all out. He's gotten free reign on offense. He can kind of just do whatever he wants. And, what's his coach going to say? We're trying to win games or something. Like we're 14th seed. We're a lottery team. 15th seed. Rockets actually just tied them again.
I'm just looking at the splits right now for the T-Wolves. You have Towns, who gets 24 points a night. Malik Beasley somehow getting 20 points a night. Russell 19, Edwards 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, this team has no depth.
Yeah, you don't have depth, and all your other guys have been gone. I mean, he's kind of just had the ability to do whatever he wants on offense, and he's very good on offense. He's probably the best scorer in this draft. He's got the best all-around scoring ability. He can really score any way he wants. He might not be the shooter that guys like LaMelo or Quickly or Halliburton, those guys, or even Sadiq Bey, like those guys are actually phenomenal shooters. But he's an amazing scorer. He's probably the most athletic guy. I think his defense holds him back personally, but he's probably got one of the best shots.
Edwards' PER is 12.5, which is behind one Hernan Gomez and Ed Davis.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the Hernan Gomez conversation on the podcast. I brought up the New York Knicks a little while ago. I said, I didn't say this, but I posed the question to you: are they the most surprising team in the NBA this season? My argument being the fact that the Knicks arguably had no superstars.
Mm-hmm.
They had a pretty, I don't want to say rough draft, but I mean, they got Obi Toppin, who I like, but they kind of got screwed out of a top 5 pick anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I think 31, 32, 27 coming into tonight. The other teams you can throw in there, Utah and Phoenix, who are the top 2 teams in the West, I think. The Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. Or you can go the complete opposite way and say Toronto is the most surprising team because they're 24 and 34. And they're 10 games below 500. Thoughts on the New York Knicks, and am I right in saying that they're the most surprising team in the NBA this year?
I think you are right, because we're saying it's the Knicks, and we I think everybody expected them to be trying to claw their way into this play-in seed.
I definitely thought they'd be closer to Washington and Cleveland than they are where they are now.
Instead they're trying to compete for up to a top 4 seed. even top 3 if they really go on a big run. They're currently on a 6-game winning streak. I think though, if we kind of look back at it and say, not just like say it's like a random team that's like not the Knicks. You see Tom Thibodeau, you see that they've got like a lot of good veterans. Taj Gibson, Reggie Bullock, Nerlens Noel, like these are all guys who have been really consistent and are, they just kind of give their all. You see they pick up Derrick Rose. You get all these like good veterans that are willing to buy in to Thibodeau, buy into like playing strong defense every night in, night out, just playing your best. And then you have a bunch of talented young guys. You have, Julius Randle, who is my pick for most improved player. He's also an all-star this year. And then you have a ton of other talented young guys, like RJ Barrett, who's made a big leap this year. You got Emmanuel Quickly, who has been probably the biggest surprise of this draft.
I thought Barrett was going to be a good player. I thought there was going to be more out of Toppin, if I'm being honest. I thought he was going to provide more. Hasn't quite worked out. But, they got, they got 7 players averaging at least 10 points, which, really impressive, and they're really fun to watch. I was watching them play New Orleans on Sunday, I think it was, and that was just an entertaining game. That was just a really fun game to watch. Really, really showed the confidence of both teams. And I know the Pelicans have been struggling, a bit too, but you can kind of see where both teams are at, and you can kind of just see the motivation and the hype and the want and the skill with the Knicks. Like it's all there. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship, but you can at least see where the peak of this team is, or at least what it's supposed to look like, which is something that I haven't been able to say for a long time. Yeah.
I just loved how, there are guys on that team like Frank Ntilikina, Elfrid Payton, and, Alec Burks, who haven't really been able to find their roles exactly, and now they kind of just buy into Thibodeau, and now they're running with it. Elfrid Payton's been a good 2-way player. He's been a good shooter, good playmaker. Ntilikina has really bought into a role as a really very good defensive stopper at the guard position, and Alec Burks has just played really well. He's been very confident. He's been making defenses pay night in, night out. And, these guys aren't always the best defenders. And, they might not even make an all-NBA defensive team, but, they play like they are, and they just hustle. They just bust their asses off.
I think that was the thing about Frank when he was drafted, was that people loved his defense. He just couldn't make offense happen. Even if he paid for it, he just couldn't get any offense, if you know what I mean. Also, shout out Mitchell Robinson, who I think is he's starting to come together a bit all the time. It's not perfect. Like a lot of these guys, it's not perfect, but you can kind of see what the end result is, or you can kind of see when they're playing their best, what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. And you said about Julius Randle for MIP. I can't argue with that, because he's become the heart and soul player of the Knicks.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. I know for our generation, the Knicks have not really been anything, but if you can be like the heart and soul and the leader of the Knicks, that's something. And I think that speaks to the, volumes of the player. Yeah. So shout out Julius Randle. Any others, like the surprising teams that you want to talk about, like the Hawks, Toronto, maybe somebody else is surprising you this year?
I definitely think the Jazz and Suns are definitely, the ones that surprised me the most.
Is it more the Jazz, who are averaging like almost 9 points like per game more than defense, giving up? Like the Jazz are just insane this year.
They've always had like really good defense, and I thought they were kind of limited in their depth because they picked up Bogdanovic, and then he was injured. He didn't play in the bubble. And then, they kind of go out and they got Jordan Clarkson last year. He wasn't really integrated into the team. Didn't really know his role. And then Mike Conley fully healthy this year. It's interesting because it's really the same group of guys that they had last year at the core of it. It's not like they went and got like some, superstar player.
Yeah, they didn't go all Brooklyn on everybody.
Yeah, they've just been, they improved their shooting significantly, and they're on pace to be a historical 3-point shooting team. And their defense is still strong like it's always been. Shout out to Rudy Gobert. And it surprises me that they just made like a gigantic leap this year.
I mean, I always thought of like Utah as more of a mid-tier squad, like a team that's always like the fourth and fifth, kind of like Portland a little bit. They're like the fourth and fifth, but they're probably never going to be like the top team. And I mean, I don't know if the playoffs are going to be different. I think a few years ago when Houston was playing Utah and they knew how to play Utah defensively, of just bringing, Gobert into the perimeter and bringing them up for high screens, and just you decide what you want to do, Gobert. Take the ball or take the pass. Like, you decide whatever you want to do. And that was obviously the Jazz's biggest issues a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely a very bad matchup for Rudy Gobert.
And we'll see. I mean, I don't know what the play-in looks like, but I mean, there's a chance I could see Golden State pulling off some sort of like offense like that, where it's like Steph at the perimeter who's doing high screens with a Wiseman or Draymond.
I just think like the small ball teams are, nightmarish for Gobert. It's, but like, you just got to kind of give credit to guys like Harden, guys like Steph that just make you pay. Like, there's no way that anybody in the last 20 years has thought, hey, this is how you counter 7'1" centers you just shoot, 30-foot long 3-pointers and that's it.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be possible, really. Nobody thought that was going to be a thing.
It's amazing because, I mean, I'm looking at the standings here. Golden State would probably not be a good matchup for Utah. Memphis with Ja probably isn't a great matchup either. Dallas with
better. That's a lot better.
It's better.
It's not for the Grizzlies matchup.
And then there's Dallas with Doncic potentially that they have to face Luka Doncic. And then you also have the Spurs. I should mention the Spurs. I like the Spurs, but I mean they're the Spurs. It's not the same Spurs. So we'll go into the playoff races a little bit here. So as we're recording this on Tuesday night, Utah's in first in the West. You got Phoenix in second, the Clippers third, Denver fourth, Lakers fifth, Portland sixth, and then if the playoffs ended today, the play-in would look like Dallas versus San Antonio, Memphis versus Golden State. When we went on IG Live, I don't know how many Saturdays, was that 2 Saturdays ago, I feel? I don't know. It's been a while. Yeah. Was it 2 Saturdays? Okay. Time means nothing to me. It's kind of a social construct. Sacramento, you said Sacramento was going to make the playoffs. Yeah. Not looking likely.
I feel like every time I say something or write about something that I want to push the narrative about, it either becomes like really good or it goes really bad. I don't think there's any in between.
There's not like a little bit of improvement from, say, like Anthony Edwards a little bit. It's either he like massively improves or he's just absolute shit.
Yeah, I kind of say like, because I haven't like said that many things, so I can count them all on my one hand.
Yeah.
I said, the Magic were going to be fine because Aaron Gordon, won't leave unless he gets unless he requests a trade. And then, he requests a trade. And then I feel like it alternates. And then I said, Aaron Gordon, I would love to see him on the Nuggets. He goes to the Nuggets. I say Sacramento. Sacramento's going to make the play-in. Sacramento decides no with a heart emoji.
Broken heart emoji.
And then, I say, LaMelo's might not win Rookie of the Year because he's not going to come back. LaMelo comes back. That's a plus for me.
You're welcome to the world of sports media.
Yeah.
No, it's here's the thing. I appreciate that you at least, have a hot take and that you're at least throwing something out there. It might not be true, but hey, you're at least trying to. Someone's got to push, Sacramento forward. At least someone's trying.
Yeah. I mean, they're not trying.
So of the 10 teams that I mentioned already, the Utah, Phoenix, Clippers, etc. I don't need to go through all of them. Who do you think is the biggest threat in the West when healthy?
When healthy, I think it's hands down the Lakers.
Yeah, see, that's why I wanted to throw in the when healthy so we can talk about the Lakers.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch, honestly. Like, I can't wait to see that starting lineup, You got like Schroeder, KCP, you got LeBron, Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond. I can't wait to see that lineup.
They're projected to play the Denver Nuggets right now in the first round, which is interesting considering they met in the Western Conference Finals last year, but that wasn't in the bubble in Orlando. Yeah. Now, in this case, the Lakers have to go to Denver. They have to play in the Mile High City, deal with altitude and all that sort of stuff. And then Clippers would play Portland if the playoffs ended today. That's an interesting matchup too.
That's a fun one. That is a fun one.
Because we get the Paul George Damian rematch again, right? Like
we'll see who's sending who to Cancun.
We'll see who's sending who or who's taking bad shots. Then we'll see who's taking the bad shots. And then Phoenix would be playing Dallas, Memphis, Golden State, San Antonio, and same with Utah. Do you think who? Okay, so if we know who's healthy, we know who the best team is when healthy. If the Lakers are going to, let's say, the conference finals, who's going to be playing with them? Do you think in the conference finals?
I want to say the Clippers because I think that playoff Kawhi and playoff Rondo are real things. Over the whole time that Kawhi's been in the playoffs, the only noticeable time he choked was when he played Denver in Game 7 out of, this is over like his entire playoff career, really. That was the kind of one time I've ever thought, oh, Kawhi choked that game. We saw him on the Raptors. He goes ballistic every single night. And that was definitely controversial to some people because he got so much load management. He has not actually missed a single game this year, to note. He has played in every single game, no load management, no nothing, which to me says he's very healthy. And playoff Rondo's a real thing. I don't want to say playoff P's a thing because nobody likes to hear that now. But I do defend Paul George. I think he's very good. I think he just had a bad bubble experience, and now we're just going to keep riding with that.
The highlight of the Lakers playoff run, one of the highlights for me was Rondo shooting and hitting threes.
Yeah,
that was cool. I love that. I don't know if he'll do it with the Clippers, but that would be fun if he could do that again. Because part of me wants to say the Clippers as a team who could get to the conference finals, but also Denver again. Mm-hmm. It's just very tough with the matchups right now to have the Lakers and the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, but I don't know. I think it's possible.
Yeah. It depends kind of if everyone else on the Denver Nuggets steps up without Jamal. I think that's that's just a huge gap. I think for their benefit, and they'll probably sink down the standings. And that will benefit them more, if they can avoid the Lakers in the first round, because they definitely have the tools, they definitely have the team to get to the second round for sure.
So it's a fun race, and you touched on Utah. My boy Donovan Mitchell, who I love, of course, he's great. And shout out Phoenix, of course, the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul has just made everywhere he's gone to great and winning.
Yeah.
And you love to see that. I don't know how great the Suns really are, but
you just gotta credit Chris Paul, and you gotta credit all their young guys. They get better every year. I think we only talk about really Devin Booker, but really, other guys on the team have been stepping up. DeAndre Ayton quietly improves every year. He doesn't get much spotlight because he was drafted in the same year as Luka Doncic. And Mikal Bridges has been very good. Jay Crowder was an amazing pickup. They're just getting better all the time, really. They're really a young team, and they got Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and they're the perfect players if you have a young team.
I was gonna say I've enjoyed Ayton's chemistry with Paul. That's the one thing when I've watched some Suns highlights or action is Ayton and Paul seem to have like that a little bit of that old school 2000s like small man, big man type chemistry a little bit as to try. Paul knows where to put the ball for Ayton, or Ayton knows when he needs to set a screen or whatever. Like that stuff seems to work quite well, and you appreciate that. Let's throw it over to the East for a bit of a conversation here. The 76ers are first in the East as we record this. Brooklyn's in second. Milwaukee is third. Atlanta is fourth. New York fifth. Boston sixth. And then the play-in rounds will feature Miami, Charlotte, Indiana, I was about to say Indianapolis, Indiana, and Chicago in that order. Chicago also lost Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine will be out for an extended period of time, nonetheless.
Yep.
So we'll see how that impacts the race for the final spot between the Bulls, Wizards, and Raptors. Thoughts on the Eastern Conference this year compared to past year? Like, I think the Eastern Conference is a bit better this year, but
yeah. I think overall, the Eastern Conference is stronger this year than the Western Conference.
Ooh. That's a bit of a hot take for me. I like the Western Conference a bit more.
I feel, I think, there are definitely better teams in the Western Conference, but the East is a lot tighter. Like, you have so many teams, that are competing for this like play-in spot. Like, teams really want this playoff spot, play-in spot. And it's just, you could literally, before the season ends, you could see any number of teams just flip-flop around between 4 to 8. They're all within 3 games of each other, 4 to 8. I think it's exciting if you like watching the regular season. And really, you never know who's going to flip-flop.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to make predictions just yet, but I mean, I like Atlanta and Trae Young. I like the Knicks. I'm not as big of a fan of the Celtics, but I still like Tatum and Brown. A lot of people send me stuff on Tatum and Brown, and maybe that's why I'm not as big on the Celtics, because they get the hype. My boys in Indiana are struggling. Domantas Sabonis and the crew are just hanging on by a thread. It's a weird conference. Is it Philly? Well, actually, is it Philly and Brooklyn versus everybody in this conference to win?
I think it is those top 3 teams. I think it's definitely between those three teams to win. We've definitely seen that not all these teams are healthy or they have specific weaknesses that kind of hold them back. I feel like it's a little, it's definitely those teams, it's definitely on them if they lose. But I think, you see the Heat, for example, with like Jimmy Butler, Victor Oladipo, Bam. They have a ton of depth.
Okay, this goes to my next question then.
Yeah.
Of the teams not in the top three in the East, who do you think has who's the most likeliest to pull off the upset and get, if not to the conference finals, then to the finals?
I definitely say the Heat.
Okay.
I think they have one of the best depth built teams, and they have guys who could definitely take them there. You see Jimmy Butler, really carried them all the way to the finals, and he was terrific just on his own. And Bam obviously was he's there, he's supporting him, and he's doing all he could. Goran Dragic is like the Eastern Conference playoff Rondo. He's outperforming every other point guard he played against, which isn't saying too much considering the point guards he played against. But but now they also have Victor Oladipo, who is probably going to be back for playoffs. I think he will be back for playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't had a ton of time to synergize with the team, but this is a guy who does everything. A lot of people said, "Oh, he hasn't been amazing. He wasn't amazing in Indiana, like recently. Houston, he didn't really play very well. In Indiana, he was coming off an ACL injury. You're not really going to be the same as soon as you come back. And in Houston, you saw with James Harden, definitely not motivated to play. That definitely does affect your performance.
Because, I'm just looking at the Heat stats now, and you obviously you probably at least want a few more points from Tyler Hero, who's averaging about 15. You'd like to probably see a little bit more from him, maybe a little bit more from Kendrick Nunn, who's averaging 14.
Yeah.
Duncan Robinson with 13 points. Oladipo, he played in 5 games. He got 12 points on average. Like, this is just a team that just needs to score a bit more and find their offensive groove, I would say. And like you say, they could probably get all the way to the finals if they just find their offensive groove and they just figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a lot more involvement with Trevor Ariza, and they just picked up Dwayne Dedman, who I think could be really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
These guys could go far. They've definitely gone. They got very far last year just because they came ready to play. It's really, I really couldn't say. Who's to tell them that they can't do it again this year, really?
Exactly. And while we're on the Eastern Conference, I should say, maybe Landry Shamet should get some MVP recognition with the Brooklyn Nets. That dude had a good performance tonight. Always like Shamet.
Yeah, he had 30 the last time when they were in Miami. Didn't matter. James Harden was out. Landry Shamet put up James Harden numbers.
Just saying, if we're gonna talk about MVP candidates, might as well throw in Landry Shamet, who had 18 points tonight.
There you go.
Which was more than Blake Griffin. And I'm just going through, more than Lonzo Ball.
Okay.
Those are all the big names. Anyways, so Shamet for MVP. We should also talk about LaMarcus Aldridge, who has retired since the last time we recorded this podcast. Last time you and I, at least, have been on together. 7-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA second team, 3-time All-NBA third team, All-Rookie first team. Do you have a big Marcus Aldridge moment or thing you'll remember him by?
Um, I'll definitely remember him and Dame in Portland. I really loved watching that like Houston Rockets versus Portland Trailblazers series. And then it all came down to Damian Lillard hitting a shot less than a second left to, that was the first time Portland had made the playoffs in 14 years at the time. I think he really built that kind of Portland culture. He built that team up. I think Dame knows that too. Dame credits LaMarcus being like, kind of his mentor, his big brother.
LaMarcus Aldridge walked so Damian Lillard could fly. Is that how it is?
Yep, that's it.
I was gonna say the moment for they showed it when he announced his retirement that I'll remember is against the Mavs when he hit like the tying three in regulation, and then he hit the game winning shot as well. That was back in like 2013, and he was still kind of the face of the franchise, but they also knew how good this Lillard guy was, or at least is going to be for us in the future. And then he went to San Antonio. Kind of a weird fit with the Spurs because he was kind of a superstar, but there's not really any superstars, and they were kind of at the end of the Duncan, Parker, Ginobili deal with the Spurs, so it wasn't quite the same Spurs. But I mean, I always enjoyed LaMarcus Aldridge as a player. I thought he was fun to watch. I thought he was talented. I thought he was, I think he earned all those 7 All-Stars. I don't think there was a time when he didn't earn them. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal. He was kind of the shooting power forward before it was cool. Not at the 3-point line. He's been, mellow like where he's kind of, you go on that island with him and he cooks you every time. And he's just hitting fadeaways. The 7-footer. He's ahead of his time, definitely.
I was going to say if he was just entering the league now, he'd be perfect. But just when he entered the time coming from the University of Texas, he kind of missed out a little bit on using him properly, correctly.
Yeah.
Maximizing what you could out of LaMarcus Aldridge. Any final words on him before we move on?
Great player, hell of a career. It's kind of sad that he has to retire early. He still definitely had a lot of it in the tank, but it's, very understandable. His health comes first.
Brooklyn, I mean, this was definitely the year he was going to go on the title run and get at least an opportunity for that chip, and it just didn't happen. So wish the best of luck to LaMarcus Aldridge. Hope you're doing well if you listen. Cool. Stay safe and do well. We'll move on to the mailbag segment. I put this out on our Instagram story. You can follow us, of course, at Speak Your Piece on Instagram. We're a great follow. I just made a meme today about the Super League dying. So if you're big into soccer, you might like that. SYP creator Kevin Renata, he was the only one who answered the question, so that was cool. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
He wants to know about Chris Boucher. Is Chris Boucher a starter caliber? I'm assuming is he a starter? Can he be a future starter? And also his case for MIP. We'll start with his starter caliber. How do you feel about that, Fuj?
It kind of depends where you want to start him. He could be a starter on a lot of teams, definitely. Maybe not like super good teams.
I was gonna say if you're like kind of, I mean, the Raptors are that team who is 24-34, that team that is struggling. But I mean, I think he can be a starter on this year's Raptors team. Oh,
for sure, yeah.
He should be.
I would say the best team that he could be a starter on would be like the Hornets and Heat. Starting him at the center.
I
you
was
know,
gonna, I was gonna say maybe the Warriors.
yeah, I mean, definitely the Warriors could use him. He does fit that kind of play style where you're a very versatile player, two-way player.
He can shoot. He's probably not the first guy you want shooting, but he can definitely shoot when you need him to.
Yeah, for sure. He's kind of a streaky player, in my opinion. Like sometimes I watch him and I'm like, oh, he's doing really well. He looks like Siakam 2.0. And then there's other days where I'm like, damn, like why are you playing this guy?
He needs to develop that Siakam spin move more and use that more.
Exactly, the Siakam tornado.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Boucher has that, no doubt this dude's an MVP candidate in the future. Like that's the one thing he's probably missing.
I feel like he's missing a bit more, but he's a good player. He's a shot blocker. He's versatile on the offensive end. I think he needs to not handle the ball. I think he needs to kind of be that like that Serge Ibaka kind of player where you kind of set screens, clean the boards, and take the shots you need to take. Because Serge Ibaka is a really smart player. He reads picks amazingly well. That hasn't been like Boucher's strong point. He's not very good, not the best rim runner. He can't dribble very well as much as he likes to think he's Siakam. I think when he does his pick and rolls, he kind of defaults to trying to get a shot instead of maybe rolling. I think it takes time. He is a G League product player, but I also don't know how much further he can go because he's nearly 30 years old. If you haven't figured it out by now, it's kind of hard to hit a higher peak.
Yeah.
He's definitely a great player. There are better teams that could definitely use him.
I was gonna say Bush, like I don't know what I'm assuming the Raptors are gonna at least rebuild or retool or do whatever they need to do to get back into contention. In the meantime, Boucher can start for the team. I don't see why he wouldn't. If you want to stick with a small ball lineup, I could see him playing a center position. If you want to try and play a regular lineup, I don't know. I don't know. I think him and Siakam would be really good together, and you get Fred in there, and then you just figure out the rest. Like those are the three guys for the Raptors I would build around. I mean, even Gary Trent to a certain extent, I would keep. I mean, he's looked pretty good a couple times that I watched him with the Raptors, but
I definitely think Gary Trent is the way to go. We've seen other guys have great performances this season. Paul Watson's been good. Yuta Watanabe's been consistent. He's been a good two-way player.
They need to get back their bench mob that they had a few years ago. That's I think what the biggest issue is just trying to find.
Yeah, they haven't had the depth, and they're kind of developing talent so they can kind of have that bench mob kind of again.
Mm-hmm.
Their front office is quite good. They know who to get. They know who they want, how they want to build a culture. Usai
is not a dumbass. Like he knows what's up.
Yep. Yeah, he knows what's up more than anybody else. He definitely didn't have the tools, the guys this year. The future is very bright for the Raptors, though. They've got arguably the best player development, probably the best player development in the whole league.
His case for an MIP, I don't see it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to compare to other guys who were borderline all-stars. Julius Randle, an all-star. Christian Wood, I think if he didn't get hurt early in the year, that he would have been an all-star this year. I think those guys are it's really hard to chase them. Even De'Aaron Fox is like a pseudo all-star type player. You know, I think it's kind of hard to try and go against those guys. Even Jeremy Grant, who has turned himself, from like a 6-man candidate to a cornerstone franchise player. That's been a big turnaround as well. As I know Boucher's in there still, but I just don't see how you can reach the levels those guys have.
I think it's Julius Randle and everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can make a decent argument for Grant. You can make a fairly good argument for Wood if he doesn't get injured. Even Michael Porter Jr., I think you can throw out an argument for him.
Yeah.
And maybe even Zion, too, to a certain extent. You might be able to. But, I mean, I think Boucher, he probably has an argument. I just think it's Julius Randle against everyone else. Yeah. That's where I think. And not because Boucher's a bad player or he's awful. It's just.
No, definitely props to him. Like, improves. He's improving all the time. He's really expanded his game. I just think it's hard to make an argument against pseudo all-stars and an all-star.
So that's the mailbag. Thanks, Kevin, for that question.
Thanks, Kevin.
Before we sign off here, Fuji, anything else you want to add or you want to mention or you want to plug? You got an article out this week that was a good read.
Yeah, top 5. My top 5 favorite rookies this year.
We are having some troubles with the website, by the way. I'm trying to work on getting like some encryption and some SNL stuff figured out. So if you want an article or you having trouble see it, just DM us. We can get it squared away. It's been a bit rough for us.
Yeah, my mom was wondering about that. She was like, "Oh, I want to read your article." He's like, "But it sounds like you guys are giving me a virus."
It's Ian. It's Ian who's been trying to work on this and edit this. And I also reached out to not trying to name drop here, but I reached out to Oscar. I have not heard back from him yet. Don't think Oscar listens to the podcast, but if he does, just answer your emails, big guy.
If you could help Ian out and you'll sing the pod, please help him out.
If you're listening to the podcast and you understand like SSL, I don't even know what that stands for. I think it's security something and encryption. They didn't teach me this at BCIT, so please help me. I would greatly appreciate it. Any other NBA hot takes, final thoughts, things before we sign off here?
Well, I think I'm on. I think I'm my hand. I'm on my 5th. I think now I've alternated to something bad.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna happen. I don't know how that's gonna work. If I like say something that I want not to happen, then it becomes good. My hot take though is that the Wizards would make the play-ins.
Ooh.
That's my hot take.
Okay.
I like that. That doesn't backfire in some kind of way.
I like that more than Sacramento.
Yeah. I think almost anything I could say that's reasonable. Probably better than that one.
I'm going to say my hot take is that. Do I want to say this? Screw it. Why not? I'll say the Pacers make the playoffs.
Okay.
I'll say the Pacers make the playoffs.
I think you said that last time. I think you
did. I say that? I feel like I said that last time.
No, I respect the loyalty though.
All right. I know. I'll change it up. Magic win the lottery. Hot take. Or do you like the Pacers one more?
I don't know. I respect the Pacers one, man.
All right,
I'll rolling with it.
All right,
I'll
stick with
the Sacramento train. That crashed and burned. That went off the cliff.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people on that, so it's just a one-man accident. Go Pacers. They I'm just searching up. They seem like they lose quite regularly.
I follow a Pacers meme page, and that's what I see.
That's the highlight of when you sent me a Pacers meme page. I like that, and like make Knicks great again. That one, that's a great account.
Those are some great pages.
Shout out to the people who run those pages. But yeah, I'll go with the Pacers making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Without Miles Turner.
Yeah.
That's the podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed that Indiana Pacers talk and Sacramento King talk. Thank you to Fuji for coming on the podcast. Greatly appreciate it. You know where to find our podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. You can watch this on YouTube. You can check out the website when it's working properly. Ian's having issues, as I previously mentioned. You can follow us on Instagram at SpeakYourPiece. Follow us on Twitter, Speak Your Piece 3, basically how it's supposed to be spelled with a 3. Fuji, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Greatly appreciated. Always glad being able to talk basketball with you. We'll do this again soon, maybe once we get closer to the playoffs.
For sure.
For sure. All right. Awesome. Love to hear that. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to us, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, however you listen to us. And we'll do this again soon. Peace out.